have done is, rather than a resolution, we have created an ordinance. And Janelle or Kevin, did that get sent out to them? I haven't seen it in an email. Okay.
No, but it's right here.
Yeah. So if you recall, last meeting we had the discussion regarding whether we could do this, and we said that we would take a look. Forrest took a look. It's in our charter language. Unfortunately, it's not in our code language. It's in the charter. But after review of it, Forrest felt comfortable that, and I'll let Forrest explain how he feels we can do this on it.
So what we've done is I just created an ordinance, and if you read through it, so keep in mind, an ordinance is more like a law. All we've done is we've really just expanded the way that a citizen can become a candidate for the city council. Secondly, this law really sunsets after the November 3rd general election. So going forward, it will not be applicable. So it's just kind of an add-on to what our charter language is. Our charter language says you need to go out and gather the 10 signatures. Well, we've just created an exception. I base that exception basically because of the emergency that we're in as a result of the COVID. And so I don't think we'll be challenged at all. I think it's appropriate the way we're doing this. And again, it does sunset. But if we want to make this, change the charter down the road and make it charter language, we can certainly do that and just go through the process of how we change the charter to make it that way. But so this does allow just for somebody to either go ahead and get the 10 signatures or go ahead and pay the $10 to get on board.
Okay, thank you.
We are not changing the charter whatsoever.
Right.
So question.
Go ahead, Scott.
Okay. I was just curious about the $10. Why do we do $10? What was that?
Because the charter asked for it.
Oh, it actually asked for $10.
Yeah, the charter's it's in the charter.
Okay. All right. So it's okay.
Interesting. I just thought it was it's $1 signature, so that's how you get the votes.
So
all right, had to throw that in there.
Hey Scott, that's being recorded now.
I know. Hey, what's the number on this ordinance? And at some point, you're going to have to read it, correct, first?
That's right.
That's right. Forgot about that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I had to throw that in there too. So there you
Good
go.
job.
Yeah, and Kim, if this gets done, will you just be deleting that watermark across the front there?
Absolutely. Before I have Jim sign it, that watermark on all of them will be gone.
So I guess we'll need a motion.
And we have it on a larger screen here for us if you'd like one of us to read it for you.
Oh, yes, I would. I'd like that.
All right. I'll motion that we approve the ordinance 175-20.
I'll second.
And I'd like Kevin to read it because the reason I'd like Kevin to do it is because I've had sitting on my desk and I keep bringing it up to Kevin, amending the city charter section 31. You can see I even have it drafted here, which would allow me to not have to read these anymore. And I keep meaning to remind Kevin, but he doesn't let me get it on there. So yes, Kevin.
Well, we're trying to avoid being here till midnight. So
That's good.
Ordinance 175-20, an ordinance of the City of Millersburg, Oregon, finding that due to the current COVID-19 pandemic, it's necessary for the conduct of the municipal affairs to temporarily allow payment of a $10 fee as an additional method of nomination for councilors and declare an emergency. Whereas the City of Millersburg recognizes the existence of COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas the City of Millersburg recognizes that current federal, state, and local guidance is to maintain social distancing of at least 6 feet, and whereas on July 13th, 2020, the Oregon governor imposed additional restrictions regarding social contact and interaction between and among individuals. And whereas, now I got, Janelle just moved. So whereas the Millersburg City Charter, section 9, sub 2 of the Millersburg Municipal Code 2.20.1010 subparen 5, both recognize the person seeking nomination of the city council must provide a petition of application signed by not fewer than 10 electors. And whereas this council recognizes the Millersburg City Charter, Section 6 provides that this charter shall be liberally construed to that end, that the city may have all power necessary to convenient for the conduct of its municipal affairs. And whereas the city council recognizes on November 30th, 2020, an election will occur for the position of Millersburg City Council. And whereas the city of Millersburg encourages individuals to seek election for the Millersburg City Council, and whereas the city recognizes social distancing may be difficult for individuals for obtaining signatures required to nominate for the city council. Now, therefore, the people of the city of Millersburg do ordain as follows. It is necessary or convenient for the conduct of its November 3rd, 2020 elections that city council candidates, in lieu of providing a petition or applications signed by not fewer than 10 electors, may pay a $10 filing fee to the city of Millersburg in order for that person to be placed on the ballot for the position of councilman. And furthermore, this $10 filing fee is only applicable to the November 3rd, 2020 election and is in addition to, but does not exclude a candidate from providing a petition or application signed by not fewer than 10 electors. Provision of this ordinance shall be null and void and of no further force and in effect on or after January 1, 2021. Furthermore, due to the risk of COVID-19 transmission in connection with the signature gathering process, as well as the need to provide candidates with the ability to file by declaration of fee, the Millersburg City Council finds an emergency exists, and for the peace, health, and safety of the citizens of Millersburg, this ordinance shall become effective upon its passage. Passed by the council this 14th day of July, 2020.
Oh, Kevin, the recording went off. You're going to have to read that over again. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
so, any further questions regarding this ordinance? May I have a motion to approve, please?
We already did it, I thought.
We already did that. That's right. We
I
did that. Thank
seconded.
you, Scott. Any further comments? Those in favor, please indicate by hitting yes on your computer. We have 4 out of 4 that are still with us. I texted Dave and haven't heard back from him yet, as did Janelle. So if that motion's passed, thank you. Very good. Kim, how many have turned in a packet so far?
0,
When is the final date that they can do that?
August 20th.
Thank you. All right.
I will be pushing out to next door and pushing out to that, just to remind people that it's coming.
Should we stop by the city hall to get that packet, or can we download that off the website?
Whatever you want to do, Scott. We can make sure we do have a couple packets up here. So if you want to just come by and grab one, we have some for you.
No, his question was, can you get it online? Can he just?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's on the front. You can get to it from the front page.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, good.
Hey Kim, this is Scott, Councilor Cowan. The deadline you said is August 20th?
Yes.
Is that very clear? And I know that in the past we had a little bit of some errors in the sense of accepting after the fact and all that. Is that pretty clear, that deadline?
I'm going to the front page right now. I'm pretty sure it's clear. It certainly is in red in the packet several times.
When do you
I
have?
got it up right now, Kim.
Oh, do you? Okay, I'm sorry. I missed over there.
I just pulled it up.
Oh, August 18. Scroll back, go back up, Janelle, please. There you go. August 18,
So when do you have to? When do you have to have it at the county?
5
25th.
p.m. August 18th.
Right. That's when you guys. That's when you're doing.
I would ask that. Yeah, I'd ask that we stay concurrent with that deadline, 5 p.m. August 18th.
Oh, okay. So the county is the 21st.
Packet.
The county's really fast. So once I get that, they take a few minutes. So the sooner the better, obviously, but because I have to verify signatures on my end and do some things on my end. So the sooner the better.
You have to wait for the-
Probably does that. Go ahead.
Sorry, no. I was just asking if you have to wait for the check to clear at all.
Nice.
All right,
I was
Scott,
wondering, is it?
We're going to
Is
require
August-
cash.
$10, Scott.
We'll put a lien on your property.
Is August 18th going to be enough time for you? Kim,
Oh,
to
yes.
do that?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Kim,
moving
you
on.
need to check because you've got 18th in one portion, but the packet says the 21st.
I see that, and that's actually the deadline for Lynn County. I'll clarify that in
And I
there.
think that's where some confusion has come in the past, is the two different dates. And my recommendation is that it doesn't really matter what the county is. It's our deadline to get the information to you by a certain deadline to count, and then it gives you a buffer to get it to the county.
Okay.
So that we'd probably just remove that August 21st.
I can do that, or just leave it as, just change it to August 18th and just stay with the
Yeah,
consent.
there you go. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
I can do that. I can do that.
Thank you.
Real easy. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I know you've done this before already, but I know Barb allowed herself more time to go through the process.
Okay. I
That's
can
you.
do that.
That's you.
It's about the same amount of time we had last year, and there was no issues with it. But I mean, I'm happy. I mean, hopefully there's some people on here going to apply, but I can move it up a few dates.
Nope, you're in charge. Thank you. Okay. All right, moving on. We have the appointment of planning commission members and establishment of parks commission and appointment of members. And these are two different resolutions, which I would like to handle separately for reasons I'll explain later. Kevin, do you want to kick this off, or?
We skipped the fuel tax discussion, Mayor.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I did. I put a mark on the ATI thing and confused myself. I looked at the agenda. You're right. Thank you. That's twice now. It had to be corrected. Fuel tax. We have the resolution before us that is the final. I believe we agreed to that we would vote upon tonight in order to get that on the ballot as well. I sent you all an email this morning asking you to reconsider, given staff comments and my own comment, given the time of, given the time we're in right now with the COVID and our economy and our inability to effectively communicate or specifically hear from our residents about this issue. So I really want to just pause our process, I guess, and say, do we really still want to do this? And I'll, respect the mass, the numbers here in terms of what we do go forward. So any comments about this fuel tax resolution?
Well, my first question would be, and to staff and other council members, really, I mean, anyone, has anybody heard any, I mean, I had the one question brought up about the ag fuel. I don't know if we got an answer to that or not. But has anybody heard any negative or positive comments towards it?
I have on Nextdoor. When we first started posting it, there was some comments on Nextdoor that they didn't understand why we were doing this and that they would not vote for it.
There's around 20 pretty negative comments.
Yeah.
But I didn't get overexcited about it because it's early and we really hadn't had a chance to explain why we're trying to do this and really have that discussion. So some of that, well, first of all, you're going to have some of that anyway, no matter what you do. But I felt that to be effective at this, we need to be able to talk to them, explain to them that we're trying to be proactive in maintaining our streets and in growing our system and so forth. Until we had that dialogue and so they can listen and we can listen, I don't know how effective you're going to be in selling this. And then I think we could be, I think Kevin and Janelle brought this up, the timing is such that it might be taken quite negatively because of the other stuff going on. Those are thoughts. Just ask that you consider them. I just think we need to talk it through and make a decision here. So,
yeah. I mean, the positive sides that I see are the fact that fuel cost is way down. The other positiveness is a lot of people are using a lot less fuel. So it's not as much as their other monthly budgets. Those are just a flip side of that.
True.
Some of the comments that I mentioned, the reason I brought up primarily to the mayor was comments I have heard more on an economic development standpoint. It's been pointed out to me that, Millersburg has always been looked at as a great place for a new business to come in, but we've just gone through the water and sewer rate increase. We're increasing our SDCs. Now we're throwing out a fuel tax. And the question, I had someone mention that, the perception there is, that it could be a bad perception with those, and maybe we'd be better off waiting a year. And that's a comment, some comments I've heard from some individuals on an economic development standpoint regarding that is timing wise with everything else that's going on and with the fact that we have COVID right now and a lot of people, we don't know how many of them are impacted by their jobs. Yeah, the fuel prices are low, but there's other impacts out there right now with COVID and with everything in place there right now. Is now the time, or should we look at waiting a year possibly? So that's why I brought it up to the mayor.
When we first began to talk about this, I was reminding myself that one of the first people to bring it up in our community was Craig Saganhagel. Thought we ought to pursue it up front real quick. He had concerns over the impact on law enforcement and a bunch of other things. So I emailed Craig right after we began this process and said, hey, we're looking at bringing this up. Do you still support it? And he said, yeah, and thanks for contacting him. In the conversation, I haven't talked to him anymore. But that's the one positive piece of feedback I did get. The 20 or so on Nextdoor were quite negative. But again, you always will get that. John, where's your head?
I don't know. I don't know if now is a great time. I would probably put it on hold. Would be my take on it.
Dave called me today on a couple of items, and he told me he also supported putting on hold.
Mayor, this is Forrest. If I could just chime in. Scott, to answer your question regarding the diesel fuel, I did verify that. And most of the dyed diesel fuel, which is ag stuff, is not taxed and would not be taxed. And we can make that provision, but most of that, it's just the way we end up writing the definition of fuel tax at the end if this thing were to pass. But like I said, most of the time that's excluded by the individual cities. Yeah. The second thing that I did want to bring up, just from a political standpoint that you folks are going to have to look at, is once we decide to do this, and if you decide to do it, what I need to do is publish down the road, and probably within the next 3 weeks or so, the ballot title. And so keep in mind, that's what will go out, and that's what the community is going to see. Ballot title is really going to be the caption. And so what the ballot title is that I had prepared is the motor vehicle fuel tax for the city of Millersburg. That's what's going to be out there. The public is going to see simply that Millersburg is going out for a vote, general election on November 3rd, and the issue is going to be the motor vehicle fuel tax for the city of Millersburg. Politically, I don't know if seeing the word tax out there right now is good or not. I guess that's up for you folks to decide, but I want you just to be aware of that. And lastly, we talk about pushing this down the road. There are May elections. The problem is May elections don't garner as many voters now as the general elections, and generally the May elections, or the non-general elections, really the the presidential years every 4 years, but every 2 years, the no votes really come out more in the off election years. And so you may have, usually when you're trying to pass something like this, it may be a little controversial and you need to get support, usually want to go every 2 years on that. You want to talk with people who've been around doing it a lot more than we have, or I have, or what I've heard, but that's just something to keep in mind too. If you're putting it out here, you say maybe postpone it a year or so, it may have a better chance of doing it 2 years from now, when you're going to have more people out voting and you may have more yes voters, because it's a lot harder to get yes voters out there than it is to get the no voters out there. Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay.
So Forrest, part of the question, it wasn't so much ag diesel, that was one of it. The other one was if the fuel's delivered here. So even if it's for on-road, but they have it delivered, let's say out to their farm into a tank there, would that be taxed?
It depends on which tank is going to be. So the truck bringing it in most likely will not be taxed. No, it's going to be at the point of sale that will be taxed.
Okay. So there's a point of sale at that point. Let's say I have a farm here and I buy it from Carson Oil. They bring the truck in, fill up my tank for on-road diesel. where's the point of sale? Do we know that?
Oh, for on-road diesel? So,
Yeah.
well, Carson Oil would then be taxed for that. If it's on-road diesel, Carson Oil is going to be the one. Because it sounds to me like if they're just bringing it into your big farm, you're just using it for your own diesel on-road. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a question I got asked by somebody who knows about this stuff, and I didn't have an exact answer. I didn't know how they track that or point of sale and so forth. So okay.
Yeah, so if they're bringing it on and they're going to store 500 gallons of on-road diesel at their spot, not to be used for agriculture, Carson Oil would be the one who would be taxed, but they would pass that tax on to the ultimate consumer.
Perfect. That was my question. So my thoughts on pushing it out. I mean, I'd be okay. I'm with Forrest though on that. This is a great year because it's a presidential year. To get this on the ballot, we're gonna get a lot of voters out there, a lot of turnout. I guess one of my thoughts are on pushing it out is just the type of residents we have in this town. I'm not sure how much they were affected as part of the larger population was, as far as some of the shutdown stuff. I'm not sure they were affected, but maybe not as much as some other people were. So that's kind of in my thought process because you have to look at the voters. That's one of them. And as far as the business side of it being business friendly, I'll take this from experience here, just where my business is at, in Albany. It would be very nice to have a nice road for access. I mean, we're in an industrial park that has issues with access and flooding roads, and it's really just because the city of Albany doesn't have the money to fix those roads. So I don't see I would much rather as a business have an improved good road to get to my business and I can get trucks in and out of and the businesses across the street than not. So I don't see it as a business as being negative. So.
Good comment, Scott. Scott Cowan, where are you at? Where's your head?
Well, I'm sort of just listening and trying to think it through. I've only really spoke with one community member about this, and they were in support of it. I think all really good points. Trying to, initially I was thinking of, maybe we do put a pause and just slow down. A lot of times, what's the, is there going to be harm in us, pushing us back a year? And then that just gives us more opportunities to gather, information and data to be able to show the citizens really the positive impact that this tax would provide. But then, listening to Forrest, every, pushing us 2 years, that's just sort of kicking it down even out 2 years. It does seem like if we did move forward with it, I guess I'm just back and forth on it. And so I'm I'm not really sure. Listening to Scott, maybe, doing it now and then, if it fails, that gives us 2 years to really find out why it failed and go after it again in 2 years. If, I don't know, I'm sure we could do that. But I understand. I know we need to make a decision, so I'm not helping matters here.
No, we're all kind of doing the same thing.
What are the people that we're hearing the negatives? What are they saying? Why are they being negative about it?
Yeah, that'd be good to know.
It's mostly about the cost, Jim. That's what you saw, right?
We need to learn to live within our means.
Yeah.
Council needs to do this. Council needs to do that. It was pretty negative stuff by people who probably aren't connected much with us that understand what's going on. It's just kind of off the cuff negativity around living within your means and we don't need another tax and that kind of stuff.
Right, and some of it was also about, well, you got all these houses being built, let the developers and builders pay for the roads.
Oh yeah, there's stuff like that. A lot of folks don't understand the financial processes the city works within. I recall somebody saying, "Well, take money out of SDCs to go do something else." Stuff like that. It's pretty common. People don't understand the financial processes, and so it's easy to get off track.
Right. So Mayor, that's. Oh, go ahead.
One thing we have heard from residents on our water and sewer rate increases, and it's more from our senior population, is that they're on fixed budgets. And they
Right.
remind us of that quite regularly
I am too.
on that. And on that. So, knowing, I don't know how they would vote on this, but I'm sure that it is. We did have myself, Janelle, the mayor, and Forrest did have discussions with Phil Shore, who is with PAC West, because he's been involved in a lot of these things. And one of the things that he shared with us that's really important if we're going to, when we move forward, is being able to go out and have community meetings and be able to get out and sell. And we are limited on that, and having the ability to do that. So there will be some restrictions on that, as far as being able to inform. The council can do it, but it's gonna, we're limited somewhat because being able to do public meetings, and getting that out there. So just wanted to share those. But it's council's prerogative.
We can pay for a flyer though, right? An information flyer?
Yes.
It can only be factual. It cannot be to sell. It can only be factual.
Correct. Okay.
And the risk we take is that if it fails, chances are next time we put it on the ballot, it's going to fail just like Albany again, because people are immediately going to vote their conscience and vote no.
Now, here's a caveat. That's
a good point.
Go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
No, I just said that's a good point. Yeah, all really good points.
I found a fallacy in my own thought process. I've been saying all along that most cities are not able to maintain their roads because by the time they pay for their emergency services, i.e. law enforcement and fire, they have spent their property tax revenue. And that's pretty common in most areas, except Millersburg. This year, I looked, since saying that, and then I look at the next year's budget. It's been a while since I did the math, but it appears to me that once we get our, pay for our fire and law enforcement, we have $400,000 plus yet still in the kitty from property taxes. So there's more money there than I thought there was, at least last year when I began this conversation. Things have changed. Appraised values have gone up. Tax revenues have gone up as a result. So we're not in dire straits. What it really impacts is our ability to get things done quickly or timely. A lot of projects will get put off for years and years and years because we can't get to them. We just got to manage the funding on a very tight basis each year and do the things we're doing around maintenance. But to do such things as widen Woods Road and put in sidewalks and stuff like that will take a lot longer.
I would just add, Mary, you're correct. We just need to also, though, be aware that, if you have a downturn and we see a slowing of growth or reduction in assessed values, we may not see that. So those are things out there that can be challenges as well as you take, looking forward.
We need to make a decision tonight in order to get it on. Well, do we? First, we could do this. We'll still do this August, right?
That'd be tight, but I think we can. Yes.
But let's try to get it done tonight then.
I mean, we can. I like wiggle room, but to answer your question, we can. If you want me to.
If we don't make a decision tonight and we wait another month, I would suggest then we need to do I don't know, maybe I don't know what you call it, but a poll. We hit 100 residents and or 50 residents and just ask them general, with some factual or something like that. I mean, I'd be willing to help with that. If that would help, at least maybe get us in a direction. I definitely don't want to do this and then it fails and then we're sort of like in that rut, like what happened with Albany.
So, Mayor, to answer your question, August 14th is the last day, and is that the day of our filed with Kim, our local election official, by August 14th?
So I'm assuming that we're all okay with the language in the resolution and what we're going to ballot. test me on that. I don't think that's a question with anybody. Nobody says that's anything thus far. So I'm assuming that's okay. The question is, as I understand, do we in fact just do it?
So one question I had on that, actually, I don't remember seeing it on there. I had to pull it up here again, but couldn't some of the money go towards law enforcement too?
No.
No, not at all. Okay. All right. Yeah. So anyways, go ahead, Jeff.
That's
Like
where I think we are. I'm reiterating, I believe we're all okay with the language. The only question is, do we do it? And Scott Cowan is suggesting we somehow do some canvassing of our neighborhoods between now and next August in order to make a more informed decision then. How do you feel about that?
I know I mean, I'd be willing to do that if that gives us enough time. I actually, probably should have done that last month, but I mean, I wouldn't have a problem going out and, it's a little hard with COVID though. That's true. And going with what Kevin's saying, it's like, how do we communicate this clearly to the community?
You don't really want to go door to door.
Yeah.
And you can't have a meeting.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess if we had to make a decision, I would say, though it just sort of bugs me to do it, but I would say that we probably have to put a pause a little bit, I guess, where I'm leaning more towards. I don't like that idea because I think this is a good time to do it, but I mean, in the sense of vote, time of year and with the fuel price, but with COVID and the lack of being able to communicate with our community and our citizens, and clearly we have a breakdown in that. It doesn't seem, just so that, I guess a little bit, I guess I would have to lean towards it's not prudent to do it right now, even though that just sort of gnaws at me a little bit.
So given that comment, given John's comment, given what Dave told me earlier today, can you all live with putting us off for 2 years? Anybody who cannot live with that?
I don't like it, but I mean, it is what it is. So.
Well,
that's where I am. I don't like it, but
I'm trying to build a consensus here. Consensus means you may not like it, but you're willing to support it.
Yeah, I mean, I just, again, one thing I found is, and Nextdoor is one of these prime examples, and I think the last 4 years are kind of really showing us this, is that just the loudest voices aren't necessarily the voice of the majority. So just because 25 people complain on Nextdoor, it doesn't mean too much to me. I mean, it means something to me, but that doesn't tell me at all that the majority feels that way. I don't feel that they do. I believe, as a city, we have some of the highest assessed values in the state, right? I believe we saw those numbers, and we're definitely rising. And I know when I'm purchasing an inexpensive investment or a house, one of the big deals to me is my street in front of my house looks decent. And City of Albany to me is a bad example. I wasn't there around for it, but I do know there was a lot of complaints of back before around 2008. There was some taxes that were passed that were supposed to go to roads that ended up getting spent somewhere else during 2008. And now they want more. I don't know how true that is. I just know that came out. So I'm just saying, I think there was a lot more to the fuel tax that they were trying to pass. It wasn't just a straight shot. So, and I don't believe that, to me, whenever you have a question of something, throw it out to the voters. I do believe, obviously, a factual pamphlet or something along those lines thrown out there is the way to educate people. And if somebody has a question, they can definitely call in and ask. And again, fuel prices, I would much rather pass it or put it out to the voters and what's going on today than to come back in 2 years or 4 years from now or whenever we do and have gas prices be $4.50 a gallon, trying to pass 5 cents then. So that's just my feelings on it. So
it's just the one thing we can do to support that approach is create a flyer that provides the facts. One of the problems with us going out and trying to even do a survey is we need to do it consistently if we were even able to do it, and without a flyer of some sort, it kind of hampers us. So if we were to do what you suggest, Scott, the one tool we have is creating a flyer, which we talked to Pat West about that.
What about doing that?
You know, and doing a Zoom meeting they can come into, throw it on the flyer. We'll be on there for 2 hours. Come on. They'll also throw some phone numbers on there. I'll be glad to have mine on there if they want to give me a call. I'll be glad to talk them through that, what it is. You know, so I mean that's kind of the information that we can throw out there. So.
I mean, if we did that, that would be, at least we could get a pulse on where people are, maybe.
But by then it's too late though, because we're going for it.
Yeah, well, what is it? Is there no time for August 11th to make this happen? Or is that too close?
The question is, can we get a flyer out and get feedback in a month? I doubt it. But Kevin, you can respond to that.
Well, I was just going to say, we could ask Forrest. We have to have stuff to the county, but Forrest, I would imagine if council wanted to move forward with this tonight, get a flyer out, try to have a Zoom meeting. If they saw that it was just an absolute no-go, what's the last date? Could they elect to have the county pull it so it doesn't end up?
Yeah, so if you voted for it and I would then publish it, I think it's September 3rd, we can withdraw it from the ballot. That's our last date to get off the ballot.
That sounds correct, Forrest.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I think so, okay.
So that would allow probably time to do do a flyer, get the flyer out, probably advertise for sometime early August, you know, for question and answer stuff on it. And you can kind of get an idea, probably. You could get a pulse of the community. I think you get a pulse pretty quick once the flyer went out on it. And you could always then just elect to pull it at that point. I mean, you would have some investment there, but I don't know that that necessarily hurts. If you saw that it absolutely, you know, the community wasn't, you could say, hey, listen to them. And if it looks like it's, you know, their support, keep it.
Can Phil get around? You know, Phil was talking about creating this flyer, and I don't know how that was going to be funded, but can that all get done and put in place and distributed and have these meetings in time within the next, you know, I'm saying 45 days, because that's about out to September 3rd. That can all be completed within that time?
Well, I think that anything that's coming out, because you don't have a PAC or anything else that would be paying for it privately, I think the flyer would be, and we're going to have to be very careful on it, can only, like I said, because Albany got into trouble with this here on not too long ago, it can only be factual information. If we want to sell it, the only people that can sell it is the council individually, and or if there was a PAC. And I haven't heard anyone jumping up and, you know, coming. We haven't, in the information we've out so far, we haven't anyone come in and say, hey, we want to do this. Once, you know, I think we may see a PAC, but I'm not sure it'll be pro.
Well, Dave's coming back on here in a second. He's coming in by phone, so we'll get him in the loop. But what I think I hear us leaning maybe toward is going and passing this resolution with the intention of getting a flyer out and somehow encourage feedback from the public. Well, the key there would be to get positive feedback, and then us make that evaluation in time to either continue the go or stop it by September 3rd. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'd be support that. I'd support even throwing some money in to help with the flyer if that's what it takes. Because I think this would be a long-term, really another positive for us to capitalize, just like what our city was based on by industry and business. This fuel tax really is going to hardly hit the community, you know, the citizens. It's really going to be supported by the big trucks. And so, I mean, I think it's a benefit to our city. So I support it, and I'd do that.
Yeah, no, I definitely go there too. I definitely say that on that factual flyer, we would list, especially because there's only 5 of them in town. We would definitely list which fuel stations that this tax even applies to.
Well, keep in mind though, when that happens, the fuel companies are going to come out and they're going to put a lot of negativity out when they see that. But again, when Kevin's talking about it has to be factual, and that's right, Scott, you were saying that is completely factual, but it has to be not one-sided or the other. If the city's going to put it out, it has to be completely factual. There can't be leaning one way or the other on things. Because I'm hearing Kevin, you say that you're thinking the city's going to pay for this pamphlet and get it distributed.
Well, I don't know how you're going to do it otherwise for us because we
Yeah.
don't have a PAC. We don't have anyone out there that's willing to. I'm not aware of anyone that says, you know, from a private standpoint that said I'm willing to put together a PAC and put funds to pass this.
Yeah.
So short of that, I think the only thing we can do as a city is put out factual information. Councilors can go out,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things, you know, as we talked with Phil, you know, we talked about being able to hold forums here at City Hall, you know, put stuff out and say we're going to have a forum on it. We can do it Zoom, but trying to do it in a public meeting, you know, we're not going to be able to do that. So unless council has any other thoughts on how we would, you know, go about funding it, I think we can put the informational flyer out with the facts and let them know and say, you know, we'd like to hear your thoughts and inputs on it. You know, unfortunately, probably the ones we're going to hear from, though, as Scott mentioned, is the vocal minority. Unfortunately, you usually don't hear those come in that are necessarily in favor. I guess if you had an overwhelming amount of the vocal minority, you know, of those that are against it come out, you know, you might give you a better view there.
I mean,
we've seen that in the past. So this would be nice if we had one of those like a survey monkey type thing, you know. So I talked about that before. You know, we throw these questions out there. You know, get everybody's email together, and you know,
we can. I mean, we could do that. I mean, we could do that through our website.
It's going to be critical, though, how this informational brochure goes out, and for us, how we're going to ask for input, and how are we going to be receiving input? Will they say, if you have any input, call us at City Hall, or call the council members? Keep in mind, if they call City Hall and we are in any way, staff is in any way advocating one way or the other on any of our responses, which I ask us to try to stay clear of. You know, normally we wouldn't want to do that. We're really pushing the envelope, because if even one sentence is construed to say that the staff member is advocating for it, we can get in trouble for that. Now, you as council members can advocate all you want, but staff, anybody other than you five, cannot advocate one way or the other. In fact, we can't even say, we're prohibited from saying, if you pass this, if you vote yes for this, it's going to help us and listing out those benefits. We can't even do that.
I would definitely direct him to council. That's my thoughts.
Okay, so that would need to be in the pamphlet. Please, contact the council. Here's the 5 council members and their phone numbers.
Correct.
Everybody else okay than I am.
Okay. Dave was going to come on. I still haven't seen him yet. He's lost Wi-Fi. He was going to call in. That was 5 minutes ago. So does somebody want to try to wrap us into a motion? Well, basically, we have a resolution here, but I guess we can just pass the resolution with the suggested motion in front of you, knowing that we have this process we're going to create quickly to get some communications flowing.
I move for the approval of resolution 2020-17, calling for an election on establishment of a motor vehicle fuel tax.
A second.
Okay. Kim, do you have that?
I do.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Go ahead and use your yes or no vote, please, down below. Okay, we have 3 yeses and 1 no. Kim, do you have that?
I have it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. See where it goes.
So if we need to, then staff will put together a flyer. Is that right? Just on the factual. Is that what I heard as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I
But-
believe that was, yeah, that's the plan, correct, Kevin?
Yeah, I just need to check with Forrest. Forrest, are we okay doing that?
I'm going to have to check with Secretary of State's office
Great.
and find out about that.
Okay. And then
I think we can, but
yeah, and we can always just pull this back. I mean, I think at least it gives us some, it gives us some opportunity here to at least get a feel from the citizens. So yeah.
If yeah, okay. I'll check.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess what I can do is, my suggestion is I'll check. I can sit on publications a bit. I'll check, and if we look like we're running into some issues with sending out a pamphlet and getting that done, I'll talk with Kevin, and then maybe he can talk with the mayor and pull you guys, and maybe we want to convene a public session before our next August session and further discuss this.
Yeah.
Kevin, Phil was talking about creating a packet. Is he still a resource that you might use for this?
well, he is. We as staff cannot do it. I think that council can be involved with the pack, but I don't think staff can do it. Phil could be a resource as far as, if we find out we can create. I think that yes, Phil indicated they would be willing to help. They've done this a number of times, and he's aware of what can and can't go in. That it's factual. I think he would be.
We're not supposed to, staff is not supposed to spend any time even on these.
Oh, great. I'm out of town next 12 days. Starting tomorrow morning, I'm out of here. So, Scott Cowan, will you create the pamphlet? I'm joking.
I'll try. I can try to do something. Yeah, I mean,
I was joking.
send
Scott.
me. I know, but I mean, someone's going to have to do something if we're going to get something out, or we should probably then follow suit and rescind our resolution. I mean, because I don't know.
I think we can put. I'm pretty confident that we can put stuff together that's factual. We just need to make sure that it is just factual.
So, Kevin, here I have a request. Kevin, will you and Forrest debate this later and define what we really can do legally and make a decision if it's legal for Kevin, for the staff to put hours into it. If I recall, the conversation with Phil was that he was willing to do it just as a part of his monthly fee. Point being, no additional cost, if I read that correctly.
As far as helping provide guidance on things that we would want to look at doing to move it forward.
The curation of the flyer.
I thought that flyer, though, he was going to create that to be an advocacy piece rather than just a factual piece. It's more of an advocacy piece.
Well, we can't do that, obviously. So.
Well, we can't, but he could, because because he was, and that's what I was unclear on what he was saying. It sounded to me like he was going to do it through a PAC or something, and it can't be any way directed, though, or tied to the city.
Okay.
Yeah, there would have to be a PAC established.
All right.
And we can't mail them out, right, Forrest?
The city cannot, correct.
Yeah. So we can't, can we provide addresses? We can't even do any of that, can we?
Well, somebody can come in and request us for an address list. That can happen. Or you can go down to the county elections division and they can give you all the addresses for the city of Millersburg registered voters.
I'm beginning to have second thoughts about the motion I just approved.
Just out of curiosity, what were we originally going to do to kind of talk about this? Was it just going to be open houses then?
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, the council would have open houses. We, without staff, would have open houses and walk through the reasoning behind wanting to do this, the benefits that we see as a result of doing it, and taking questions and answers. My big point was I don't want to become Albany, Lebanon, Harrisburg, Mill City, yada yada, all those cities who don't take care of their streets. They don't have a plan. They can't fund a plan. So proactively, I was trying to get it. I wanted to get ahead of the curve. That was the goal. Plus,
so could we
address the projects that we have on our list?
Yeah.
More timely.
Could we do just an open house using Zoom? Can we put it on the reader board? Just, hey, we're having an open house on Zoom. Join in at 2 p.m. today or 4. Obviously 6 p.m.
I don't know how many people are on it, but
Can we do that on the board? I mean, is that okay?
We had to advertise open houses somehow before. So that's my question here.
Yeah, that's true.
Really the way to get this passed is really a grassroots effort by you 5 to go door to door. But see, you can't now. This COVID thing.
Yeah.
You go door to door in September and October, and you spend your Saturdays doing that and knocking on the doors and just answering the questions of people. This COVID thing's really goofed that up.
Okay. All right.
It goes back to, yeah.
I'm
jam.
I'm at a point now. I think I voted incorrectly. I don't know how to do this, but I'd almost suggest we just have another vote to disapprove what we just did, because the more we talk out loud, the worse it gets about our actual ability to go out there and make people aware of what we're trying to accomplish. And if people are going to really react, are they going to be the negative ones? And we're not going to have a means to gain the support from those who might approve it. And then given all the other things relative to COVID that's going on, it's getting too cumbersome.
Once it fails, it's going to fail again, guys.
Yeah,
agreed.
So
I don't want to.
I'm going to make a motion that we rescind the motion that we just approved, which was to approve Resolution 2017, calling for the election of this establishment of a motor vehicle fuel tax. So I'm making a motion to rescind the approval of that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion? First, before I go there, Kim, are you okay with that? Do you have the motion?
Forrest, they didn't vote on this motion. Well, no, they did vote on this motion.
Yes, we did. We had a
3-1.
Okay.
Kim, did you have the
Mayor?
motion?
Yes.
I believe, and Forrest helped me out here, but I believe you would vote first to reconsider.
Yeah,
and then
I'm not sure the steps
then you would
are
vote for it.
Yes.
First, if there is a vote, if the majority is willing to reconsider the item, then you would re-vote on it.
Yes.
Dave just came
Am I
on.
here? Can you hear
You're
me?
there.
Yes,
We
you're
can
here.
hear you.
Okay.
That's
sorry
not fair,
about that.
Dave.
I'm
Dave
out in
coming
my
in
truck.
this late.
Okay, so
Can you hear me?
let me have the floor here too. I'm going to do this whole process I'm going to end it with a motion to reconsider so Dave can catch up. Dave, what we have done after probably 45 minutes now on this fuel tax thing, we've vacillated back and forth, and we actually made a motion to approve the resolution 2017 with one voting negative, being John. And the idea behind that was we were going to create a process to get the word out and get feedback, such that if that feedback became overwhelmingly negative, we could pull this thing by early September so it doesn't get on the ballot. The more, we did that, then the more we talk about it, the more we hear about all the things we cannot do legally, where we can't fund the flyer, we can't engage people in the flyer, we can't spend any city money on it, and followed by the fact we can't really go door to door with masks on and all this. So it's gotten to quite a quagmire. So I was making a motion to reverse the approval of that resolution and had a second. And then Kevin suggests before you do that, you really need to have a motion to reconsider topic. So that's where we are, Dave. Do you follow me?
Yeah. So what does that mean? It would be tabled then at that point, or what that mean?
What I'm working toward is a motion to deny the approval of the resolution, to table this for 2 more years or whatever.
Okay. Okay.
So I will withdraw my initial motion. And Scott, did you second it?
Yeah,
Okay, so will you withdraw your second?
I withdraw my second.
Okay, thank you. So I will now make a motion to reconsider the prior motion that was approved for the resolution of 20-17. So I'm making a motion to reconsider that. Can I get a second for that, please?
Second.
Okay. Kim, do you have that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm just going to jump to it. All those in favor, use your yes or no keys to get to it.
Probably should have followed suit with John the first time.
Do
We'll learn.
phones have yes or no?
You'll learn.
Oh, I was like, do we still have Dave?
So how do you voting, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. Then motion carries. Thank you.
What a mess. There we go.
Somebody else want to make the other motion? You want me to?
Yeah, I make a motion that we're just gonna rescind, right?
Yes.
I make a motion that we rescind the approval of resolution 2020-17, calling for an election on establishment of a motor vehicle fuel tax.
Second.
I got
further
it.
discussion? Kim's got it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote again.
Aye.
Thanks, Dave. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your patience. Good discussion, lengthy discussion. I think by having the deep discussion we did probably took us in the right direction, and hopefully we bring this up again for the election 2 years from now. And John Sullivan, good. Thanks for your good counsel.
Yes.
One thing, Jim, that this brings up is now next time we want to push something like this, or even this, is the grassroots campaign and how we can advertise this.
Yeah. Good point.
Next time. So
That's a good point.
The Survey Monkey thing, I throw that one out there again. I do think they have, maybe with our website, Kim, if there's some way we could have a system like that. I mean, I know we can't advertise on it, but just to get community feedback, there's a lot of questions. It's nice to have that.
Yeah. We don't have that capability with our current website. I'm not sure we will on the new, but that's something that we can talk about. And but one of the things that we could, I think one of the things that could happen is, as we go forward, that's one of the things as you're talking with your neighbors and things is to kind of get a feel for them on it. It's something that's, if we know that we're going to come up, it's something to start from a grassroots standpoint. You can start working on that even now.
Perfect. I like it.
Okay. Yeah, and Scott, you kind of leaned to this. We probably should be getting a nucleus of people out there that we think are positive to work with us and create a little pack to help us with the communication. Okay, let's move on. We have one more hard one and they get easy. The appointment of Planning Commission members and establishment of the Parks Commission and appointment of members. I would like to address these in 2 different resolutions as they are identified, but I don't want to approve them at the same time, please. I'll explain why later. So Kevin, you want to kind of kick this off?
Yeah, I'll talk about the Planning Commission, and Janelle's going to cover the parks. So we have currently two vacancies on the Planning Commission, with the resignations of Dennis Gunner and Jimmy Kirkendall. Appointments will be completing their terms, so we'll need to identify who. Both of their terms actually end in December of 2022, so they would be filling out the remainder of their term. So their positions 6 and 7, and then the applicants would be considered for subsequent reappointment. You do have 2 applicants for the Planning Commission, and I will just point out that Carly Thomas also Carol Thomas. I actually applied for both Planning and Parks Commission. Janelle was there a preference? I'm trying to remember if there was
When I spoke with her, she didn't have a strong preference. I was just asking her if her intent was to, if she was appointed to both, was to actually serve on both, or if she was only wanting to be appointed to one or the other. And she was open to any of the options.
Okay. So you have before you the two candidates, Monty Ayers, Carol Thomas. Kim sent you background information on their applications yesterday. What's your pleasure, Council? Can you make a motion to approve Resolution 20-11? Anybody?
All right, there we go. Sorry, I was actually going
I guess
through
I
it.
gotta unmute.
I move for the approval of Resolution 2020-11, appointing Planning Commission members with Monty Ayers and Carol Thomas, appointed to position 6. Oh, I guess I got to be each. So Monty Ayers, appointed to position 6, and Carol Thomas, appointed to position 7.
And I second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? Go ahead and use your vote, please, to indicate your vote on this. Dave, you okay with that? All right.
Yeah, I would approve the motion, but I can't read it on my phone.
I'm missing one vote. Scott Cowan.
Probably me. Yeah, it was me. I dropped off. Here I am.
I got everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on then to the Parks Commission.
Parks Commission. All right. So as you're all aware, we've been working on establishing a Parks Commission since we completed the Parks Master Plan. The positions were advertised a while ago. We have 6 applications that have been received. One thing, we gave you a couple comments in the staff report to discuss how to make the timing of making these appointments. When we first wrote this, we didn't have one of the applications we have now. So we're suggesting you could hold the applications open and continue to accept applications until November, if you would like, and then appoint members at the time you do your normal appointments, and make the appointments effective January 2021. The other option is you could go ahead and appoint now based on the applications that we've received, but we'd still recommend that due to the restrictions on in-person meetings and the fact that this is a new commission and it's not urgent that they accomplish anything immediately, we as staff are really not ready to move any of these projects forward yet, because what's in the CIP was already agreed on this year. So it's really their input going into next year's CIP and budget that would be good timing to get them engaged. So we would still recommend not holding their first meeting until January 2021. These are all new appointments where they're going to be offset 3-year rotating terms. So if you want to appoint them now, then recommendation would be the initial terms would be 1.5 years, 2.5 years, and 3.5 years from today's date. So that they serve their full 1, 2, or 3 years going forward. So one other wrinkle is that you could, the resolution as written says that they will draw lots for the positions at their first meeting, but you could strike that part out of the resolution and just assign them to those positions now, which might be simpler in the long run for them getting going, but that's completely up to you.
You done, Janelle?
Yes, I am done.
Okay. What she did not tell you
Okay.
is that technically Connie Lepine cannot participate because our current and our new procedure regarding the management of committees, commissions, does not allow a person to sit on more than one commission. She is a member of the Planning Commission. So I'm going to speak about this, and I'm not going to vote on it because she is my wife. But I feel kind of strongly about this, that we might want to consider changing our rule. And it's because some of you have watched her work on other committees or commissions. She's the type of person that takes that job extremely seriously. She does all the homework. She goes prepared. She asks the hard questions. She follows through, and she's energetic about it, and with a sole purpose of just participating and wanting to contribute, which she has done many, many times over many, many years, even before we moved here. She's got experience even on Parks Commission elsewhere. So I hope she can't hear me in the other room, but I guess it's kind of a weird predicament for me to be talking about that. But I think and we do have a goal to increase volunteerism in our city, and we're doing it. And if we had 15, 20 people jumping over this job, I'd probably think differently about it. But we have 5 people, we have 5 positions. I'm hopeful that you as a council will consider that. I don't know if we might want to consider changing our policy or not. I mean, looking 10 years down the road, it might be a problem. So with that in mind, I'm concerned in the fact that the policy would prevent this from happening. I think she is a strong advocate and be good for that role. With that said, I am going to be quiet and let you guys decide what you want to do here.
Can I add one more thing real quick? Just if this is a restriction for Connie, it is also now for Carol, because you just appointed her to the Planning Commission. So if Connie and Carol are both taken out of the pool, we only have 4 applicants.
So to follow up with Jim, I agree with Jim, and it's not just Connie by any means. Like I say, it's Carol. It's obviously we have a lot of people who, we don't have a lot of volunteers coming in. So if everybody obviously can notice that for all these, I only feel as far as a commission's why somebody couldn't serve on 2 was obviously if there'd be time conflicts or B, if somehow one reports to the other kind of a thing. So there could be some conflict there. Other than that, I don't see a reason people can't serve on 2. That's just my thoughts. But I'm going to abstain from that conversation because she is my mother too. So I'll stay out of that.
So, Kevin, are you opposed to our changing the policy?
This is a policy. This is council's policy to change.
I understand it. I'm looking for your input. I'm looking for your input too, though.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, they're all good points. As you and I have had the discussion. We put this in here looking at a lot of other communities will only they limit. So some communities say if you can only be on 1 commission, no more than 1 committee. That's 1. Some say you're on 1 committee or commission, period. We will actually need to update this anyway, because at the time we did this, when we pulled this up, it dawned on me, we didn't have the Parks Commission because the Parks Commission hadn't been established yet. And the Parks Committee is now gone. So we need to update it anyway and remove Parks Committee and put Parks Commission in, so we can bring that back to you next month.
Are we also discussing removing Budget Committee because they only meet?
And one of the questions is because right now we did have 2 people that were on previously that we were going to talk about when they came back up that were on Budget Committee. So one of the questions was, would you want to consider removing the Budget Committee from one of the multiples because of the amount of time that it takes? It does only take 2 meetings for that committee. So it's really the council's decision. One of the primary purposes of it was if you had, you may only have 4 now, but what happens in the future, if you do have others that are interested, and you got someone showing, on 2, I guess when they come up for their reappointments, you can always remove them and put someone if you have others. So that was what the main purpose of it was. But we haven't seen a huge number running to apply for the Parks Commission on it. But I think that was more the case. Some commissions are more interesting to others, and it's trying to just, I think it's more of a question for council on how much opportunity you want to allow for others in the community when they show the express interest.
So So I think a couple of options here. One, you as a council can accept the resolution as it is with the names that are on there and asking Kevin to address changes appropriately to the policy for the next meeting, or you can take exception to it and not approve the names that are on there. And I'll respect your decision either way.
You could approve some to be appointed and not all of them at this point because they won't start meeting until later anyway.
Correct.
I have a quick question. Kim, I was going through the list here, everybody's application. I just caught this. When I go down to Don Dixon on the Adobe here, and then I go to the next page, this will be page 2 of his application.
Yeah.
There's a signature at the bottom and it says Tally Richardson.
Oh, did I combine the wrong documents?
That's what I was just looking because I was reading it here and I'm like, hold on, this doesn't sound like Don. So, yeah.
I'm looking at it. It sounds like I possibly. Oh, I thought I printed the whole thing. They might have jumbled the PDF. Sorry about that.
I just want to, because obviously if you read all the supplemental questions, she talks about husband and it's under, Dawn. So.
Oh no, I got it. I definitely got it backwards. Huh? How the heck did I do that? I'm gonna blame it on the new program. Okay.
Okay. So Scott and I are out of this discussion. So 3 of you, please decide what you want to do.
If she brings a motion back up, I'll make a motion.
So before you make a motion, I was going to say, I'll pop it back up for a second, because we're not listing their names in this motion like we did with Planning Commission because there were more. We thought we could just fill them in if you say who you indicate on the, I'll get back to it in a second. Sorry, lost my mouse. On the resolution, and then you can make your motion and they'll already be on the resolution. Does that make sense?
So, and Janelle, if we don't make a motion so they can be on 2 committees, then as of right now, Connie and Carol cannot be on there, so we only have 4 applicants. Is that correct?
Scott, my feeling is if you want to do them, I think you could do the resolution, then direct us to come back.
Yes.
And do that. So I don't think you have to make that first. One of the things that you could do if you wanted to, you notice we have positions 1 and 2 would be a 1.5-year term. And then positions 3 and 4, a 2.5-year term, and position 5, a 3-year term. If you wanted to, it's something that could do since you have, if you had someone that's going to be on 2 and you wanted to still allow maybe others at least to reconsider it, you could place those that are on initially on both on one of the 1-year terms if you wanted to. It doesn't really make any difference, but it would allow you an opportunity to say, hey, do we want to open this to someone else in the future? But if you're comfortable just having people fill 2 roles, then I wouldn't worry about where you put them in the positions.
So my thoughts on that, I'm saving the vote here, but is just that, us pointing them to 1, 2-year term, 3-year terms, I would feel that might show some, some questionable favoritism. Not saying somebody's favoring one or the other, but I know I would question, well, why did I be on? Why was I on 1 year, not 2 years? Why were they 2 or why were they 3? So I would go with the straws. That's just me. That's a fair way to do it. So
the intent is that they would all be eligible for an additional appointment unless you change something.
True, but I just.
So, and it's pretty typical that's how they identify. But if council's more comfortable having them draw straws, either way, it's usually on a new commission. It's not uncommon for a council. Given the circumstances here, though, I think if you're more comfortable with drawing straws, that's fine too.
This is Scott Cowan. Was there a stamp on when they turned in their applications? And then we could do it that way as well. If there is a time frame that they turned in, do we know that? That'd probably be a question for Kim. Yeah.
There is on the top of the applications, but I can tell you the order because I was, obviously involved in it. But
I mean, you don't have to tell me the order just yet. That's just an option that you could go by the order by whoever turned their application in first, gets the longer stay, and you go back down that way. But I'd be okay with the drawing the straws too.
I like Scott's
yeah.
plan. That works. That works for me. That's an easy one to.
So John was going to do a motion.
Yeah, I just need the motion number.
Well,
Resolution.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2020
sorry, online. There you go.
2020-12, appointing Don Dixon, Allison Haley, Jamie Okerson Hottram, Connie Lapine, Tally Richardson, and Carol Thomas, with Kevin going back and making the policy change. Would that be correct?
That's
We
six,
only have 5 positions.
that's 6 people.
Okay.
And Janelle, did you want to just mention who was?
Oh, yeah. Just one other thing, in case you're interested, Don Dixon and Carol Thomas were on the Parks Committee.
Okay.
Why don't we do that one first?
Okay. And we just assigned Carol Thomas to the planning.
Yes,
So we only need 5.
correct. There are only 5 positions available.
Okay. So want me to correct my resolution 2020-12, appointing Don Dixon, Allison Haley, Jamie Okerson Hottram, Connie Lapine, and Tally Richardson to the Parks Commission.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Kim, do you have the motion okay?
Did we want to add anything about directing Kevin
Policy?
to go back? Yeah, directing Kevin to go back and change anything, or do separate on that?
That's what I was wondering. Do we want to separate that? Break
Or-
that out?
Or do you even
I
need
think
the
that can
motion
just
on
be
it?
separate.
Okay, separate.
Okay. So those of you who are voting, go ahead and vote, please. I will abstain.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Okay, I got him.
Okay. Scott, you were going to abstain, I thought.
Were you going to abstain, Scott McPhee?
Yeah, sorry. I thought I already. Yeah, no, I abstain also.
Okay. It
So
shows you voting.
you have 3 votes, Kim.
I got him.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay.
I'll motion, or I guess just quick discussion. We need a motion to have staff. Do we need that motion, or just direct staff to bring policy forward with potential changes to change that language in the policy about dual commission and such?
Or
I
this
think-
is a council policy. I don't think we need a motion from them. They just direct us. I can just bring it back next meeting.
Right.
Let's force it.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm good with that. I would add that we, like what you were saying, Kevin, language in there, if there are multiple or one member that's on multiple commissions if there's a time to provide interest of other people coming on, that they would be preference versus having someone, on multiple commissions and blocking someone from the community wanting to step in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know that you want to. I think that's something council can just look at when you're coming up to do your
Just when we're
reappointment.
making this, okay, no, that sounds good. Yep.
Would be my recommendation at least.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's good.
It's in the minutes that we have asked staff to work that, so we'll be okay there. Okay, we're done with this, I hope. Moving on to system development charges. A very, very lengthy document with hopefully a very quick discussion.
Well, this may be the last meeting.
It's so positive, Mayor.
All right. I won't go over the history because I know you've heard it many times. If you have questions, let me know. We can talk about it. We have not received any public comments. We have received multiple building permits in the last several days. People trying to get these in. Not quite that many, but it was a few. I do want to point out one thing that Jake actually caught it today, and I want to bring it to your attention. This table here, this table here that you've been seeing for months had this column, which is our current maximum allowed SDCs, listed as our current fees, and that's incorrect. Our current fees are actually this column, which we have not been presenting. I realize now, the person who helped me put together these tables wasn't aware that we didn't adopt the maximum charges, and I didn't catch it. So this is under our current methodology. Our maximum allowed total is 1133, but we have been charging 8,894 because those were what was adopted by council years and years ago. The biggest difference being in water. So revised charges haven't changed except for just some very minor adjustments. I think one went up $1, one went down $1, or one or two with some of that final tweaking. But the percentages that we've been showing you as far as the percent of the total SDC to the median home cost, that hasn't changed. I did just want to point out that difference in the table.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yep.
No wonder they're rushing to get them in.
They are, and you know, one thing I would, sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead. Also let you know is that is all the building permits in the subdivisions except maybe a couple that haven't trickled in yet that are currently approved. So we do have a subdivision that I just got the drawings resubmitted on that maybe will begin construction this summer. But I think this is really good timing because it's going to apply to future projects and not impact a lot of stuff that's already in the works right now.
Okay.
So if you still want to move forward with adopting what you've been seeing for the last several months, we need to do this in order because the second two resolutions reference the first as having been adopted. The first one is for adopting the methodology, the second one is for adopting the projects list, and the third one is for the fees.
I move for the approval of resolution 2020-13, adopting a methodology for calculating system development charges.
Second.
Kim, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Those in favor, please vote your decision. Dave, where are you on this?
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody
Go
want
for
to
it,
take
Nope.
Keep it rolling, Scott.
I move for the approval of resolution 2020-14, adopting the systems development charges and capital projects list.
Second.
discussion? Place your vote, please.
Aye.
Dave? Okay, again, unanimous. Thank you.
Hey, somebody's missing. Who's
Yeah,
missing?
hang on.
Oh.
There it is.
I thought I
And
saw it.
John?
I'm sorry.
You guys are going away as fast as you're going up.
Well, sorry, thanks, Kim, for catching it. I didn't see it. I thought it was all there, so I appreciate you doing that.
I move for the approval of resolution 2020-15, adopting a fee schedule for systems development charges.
Second.
Discussion? Please vote.
Aye. Aye.
I gotcha.
Unanimous.
There we go.
And Kim, real quick, when we were doing the Parks Committee members, I just realized I had my yes vote up during all of that. I just left it up. So you got me down as abstain though, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect, okay.
Liquor license.
So moved.
Appropriate. Aye.
I didn't know. Kevin, am I supposed to go over this?
You have a motion on the floor.
We don't have a motion.
I heard a motion.
Please read the motion in full.
Do you want discussion? We do this every year.
If you don't see a need for discussion, you are more than welcome to make a motion.
I move to approve the renewal of liquor license for the identified applicants.
Second.
And
Motion,
let's just make a note. This really could have been on the consent agenda.
Yeah.
We'll do that for next year.
I mean, the only time I see an issue is if obviously we had some sort of negative reports or something, you know, from them.
Yeah, good point.
Well, and just keep in mind on stuff like, you know, Janelle and I were just talking tonight, you know, with as much discussion as we've had on the system development charges, we could have put that and the liquor license renewal on consent agenda. Because you can always request to pull them off if something came up.
That's
One
good point.
requested.
It's a good point.
On it.
Real good point.
We had plenty of discussion on it.
That's
So
something to
we
consider
just don't
going
think,
forward.
we just need to think about that a little bit more, I think, moving forward.
Yeah,
Ken, did you get the second on that?
Yes, I actually heard Scott McPhee before Dave.
Okay.
It was actually John, I think.
I mean, John, yes.
Yeah.
I heard Scott McPhee just right before John.
Please place your votes.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Okay. I can't say. Alerica franchise agreement, Kevin?
Yes, so we have been approached earlier this year by Lyrica Networks requesting information and interest in building out a fiber network and broadband network here in the city. They are requesting that build that. They would like to have an agreement, 10-year agreement with us with 5 automatic 1-year renewals, and with the intent to seek renewal on the agreement for continuance after the initial 15 years. If it's approved under the franchise agreement, the city would receive an amount equal to 7% of their gross revenues generated in Millersburg, or $3,000 annually, whichever is greater. Or at the city's request, they'll provide one dedicated non-shared 1,000 millisecond internet connection to City Hall, a wireless connection to Millersburg Park, and they also added a connection for the fire station. That was after we did the staff report we got thinking about. So they've agreed to those, and of which the market value would not exceed the minimum annual payment. So some of you may be aware, in a number of our newer subdivisions, CenturyLink has elected not to place infrastructure. And so right now we have just a single provider for broadband and telecommunication services. So that would allow, Lyric is actually interested in using some of the subdivisions that have placed conduit. We had discussions with Forest and others. That could be available to them from the developers on it to use. They're also looking at potentially boring and other things in other areas. So the franchise agreement will generate revenue or provide additional internet connection service to us at no cost. So just to make you aware, that 1,000 milliseconds is a gig on their business side. So we may take a look at it. We may actually look at having dual service coming in here to City Hall with them and LS. So that's something we can look at later. So you'll see the attached resolution, although we've updated the resolution, and Forrest, you ought to be really glad I brought this up to your attention, because you would have been reading 10 pages worth of an ordinance.
Oh, I know. I thought about that. And then I thought, I can't read the small print. You guys have it up on that big board there, right?
So you will see that the ordinance was changed, because I brought it to Forrest's attention. This was different than what we've done on the others, where we've just had an ordinance granting, listing the franchise agreement as an exhibit, and authorizing me to enter into that agreement if council so desires. So with that, we would entertain a motion for granting an ordinance to allow us to enter into an agreement with the Lyrica for broadband and telecommunication services facilities.
Move to adopt ordinance 174-20, granting a non-exclusive franchise to Lyrica Networks LLC, and authorize the city manager to sign the franchise agreement.
Second.
All right. Going back,
One of us did read that. We need to read that, unfortunately.
you mentioned there's 2 benefits. One is the up to $3,000 financial franchise agreement. and the service to our facilities? Is it either or both?
It would be either or. So if we elect not to take the internet connection, it would be 3,000 or at a minimum annually, whichever, either 7% of their gross revenue. So if their revenues were over 3,000, minimum, our base would be 3,000. If it's over that, we would get more than that. Or we can request, in our request, we request the connection. So one of the things we did a lot of research on, because we had some concerns with another, the book value, if you were to go in for, this is a business connection, if you were to look at, I believe, is $1,200 a month. So if you were a business and wanted the 1 gig internet connection, the value of that is $1,200 a month.
Well, the reason I asked the question, this slide does not have the word or in it. It would imply you have two different benefits there. But if we type that ourselves, that's great. But if it was, I'm assuming their contract is not written the way this is written, right?
The franchise agreement is or. It's at our.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right, so that's a motion in a second. Kim, do you have it down okay? First to Kim.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, do you have the motion? And
I do.
Okay.
I have a
Any
question.
other questions?
I have one.
Okay.
Because these franchise fees, there's been some confusion for me between CenturyLink and Comcast. Is 7%, is that what Comcast is paying for internet service?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what CenturyLink's paying too?
Yes.
Okay. All right, perfect. I just wanted, because I know there were some differences and I wasn't too happy with that, but okay, go ahead.
So LS Networks is at 7. So LS Networks is they only provide business, but they're providing a similar service, the same service as Alerica. So all of the broadband companies here in Millersburg are at 7%. And Councilor, I think what you may be thinking about is what we've had an argument with Comcast on is, I believe, Forrest, correct me.
No, you're right.
They will we're only getting for their broadband. We're not getting for their for the phone service portion.
Correct. Right.
Which CenturyLink has to pay. I haven't quite. In fact, I'd be interested in talking about dropping CenturyLink just to keep making it even. If we can't charge Comcast, I don't think that's really fair.
But there's supposed to be some legislation going through, and I've been keeping my eyes on it back in DC through the FCC that will allow us to get that from Comcast, though.
Okay.
So I'm keeping my eyes on that.
So the Alerica, our franchise agreement with Alerica does cover both broadband and telecommunications. So that is one change. And they were actually the ones that asked us to include the telecommunications portion.
Yeah.
Alerica, I would say they've been very good to work with.
They have.
Very excited on being able to provide the service to the community.
Very positive reputation amongst the communities around us that are using Alerica. They're real pleased with it. Okay, any other comments, questions? Go ahead and vote then, please.
Aye.
Okay. Kim, we have an unanimous vote.
We have a unanimous vote. Wait, it says I'm muted. Never mind. Can you hear me? Yeah, we heard you.
Yep. Okay.
Forrest, are you going to read the ordinance?
I was thinking I was going to sneak on by, Kevin. Okay. An ordinance granting a non-exclusive franchise to Alerica Networks, Inc., whereas the City of Millersburg can regulate use of City of Millersburg-owned rights-of-way, and whereas the City of Millersburg may enter into franchise fee agreements with telecommunications carriers using City of Millersburg-owned rights-of-way, and whereas the City of Millersburg desires to enter into a franchise fee agreement attached as Exhibit A with telecommunications carrier Alerica Networks, Inc., and whereas the Millersburg City Manager conducts day-to-day business for the City of Millersburg and should therefore sign all documents and conduct all ongoing business pertaining to this franchise, now therefore the people of the City of Millersburg do ordain as follows: the City of Millersburg and Alerica Networks, Inc. shall enter into a franchise agreement with Alerica Networks, Inc., pursuant to the terms in attached Exhibit A, and furthermore, that the Millersburg City Manager shall sign all documents and conduct all ongoing business pertaining to this franchise. This ordinance passed becomes effective 30 days from the date of passage, passed by the council this 14th day of July, 2020.
Thank you, Forrest. But somebody remind me, why is it we're having to read these things?
It's in the charter. It's in the charter, and that, Mayor, is why I have right here a file that says amend city charter section 31. And hopefully one day we'll be able to get this on the agenda.
Well, let's fix the charter.
I agree. I just am waiting to get permission from my city manager to say we can put it on an agenda. It's right here whenever I can get that.
Between you and Karen, we can change this. So it takes 2 meetings, of public meetings. We can do it. So please take care of it.
The only reason we do have a couple of other items that we probably need to address in the charter as well. And Forrest has asked me about it last month, and we just have had so much on the agenda, we just haven't had time to get to it.
Okay.
And we enjoy hearing him, making him read it.
I second that.
All right. I don't believe we have any public left to have public comment, so I'm going to skip over that.
Wait. Did we see a vote on this?
Yes, you told me. Yes, we did.
Okay.
You even.
I do not know why I didn't write it down.
It's unanimous.
I even asked you.
It's late, Jim.
It's late.
Oh, this is early.
We ought to be thankful if we go into midnight if Forrest had to read that ordinance.
Oh,
Closing council comments. Closing council comments going twice. Okay, I have one. I'm going to be out of town starting tomorrow for up to and no more than 12 days. Kim, do I need to sign anything before I leave? Because I need to get it done early.
When are you leaving?
Like about 9 o'clock.
Tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll be up to 11 printing this stuff.
Well, do they need to be signed before I get back?
It's 30 days.
All right, let's just do it when I get back.
Okay. Just don't be longer than 30 days.
well, wait, I think though, does it need to be, it might even be, let me check.
You got the charter, or not the charter,
Yeah, well, let's see, I
the
thought
guidelines?
the charter though, I thought it said needs to be signed within 3 days or something.
Oh, you're right. The charter might say 3 days.
Okay. Can't Scott
Forrest,
Yes?
could not our Mayor Pro Tem, since the mayor is gone, sign it?
Certainly could. We just have to, yes.
Yeah.
And he could sign that. Yes, he certainly may.
Scott Cowan, are you available?
Yep. Yeah, I'm available.
Would you please go by and sign, please?
Yep, just tell me when, Kim, or I'll come by.
I will let you know, Scott. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. And then Scott, are you going to be in town for the next week or so?
Yeah, I will be.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. And that's a good call.
And just to let you know, it says the mayor's duty says he shall have no veto power and shall sign all ordinance passed by the council within 3 days after.
3 days. Okay. I don't know what I was thinking.
They become automatically approved.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Okay, yeah, that resolved. Anything else for the good of the order, as Clay used to always say? Hearing none, we're going to adjourn our meeting then at 10:18. Thank you so much.
You guys have a good night, guys.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Thanks for all the work. Appreciate it.
All right, good night.
Good
Night.
Night.